All right, class, we finally made it. We are in chapter 2. And if you notice, we're actually going to skip the first couple sections, and we're going to start right in at section 2.3. And if you look at section 2.3, today's game is called Rules for Addition. Now, we've done this before back in pre-algebra. But again, this is the nuts and bolts that algebra is built upon. So you've got to be able to take care and handle the integer rules. And that's so important for what we're getting ready to do. So if you notice, for my rules for addition by my light bulb chart, I actually have 3 different steps that we need to take care of in order for us to add correctly with our integers. So rules for addition. So if you look at box number 1, here's what it says. If A and B are the same signs, then add and keep that sign. So if you look at my examples, we've got 3 plus 7 equals 10. They're both the same sign. They're both positive. And so it's positive 10. My second example, I've got negative 11 plus negative 22. They're both negative, so we add and give them that sign, negative 33. Now, here's a little hint. If you're having a hard time with integer rules, I have a little hint to help you. One way that you can do it is use highlighters. If you look here, let's say I go over here and I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to make yellow. I'm going to make yellow be positive. Those are going to be my positive numbers. And then let's go ahead and let's make green. Actually, I really want my highlighter, so let me get here. Let's go to highlighter. And let's make, get rid of that. And let's make green be negative. Okay, we'll let green be negative. And here's what you can do. Look at this. If you're using highlighters, I went the wrong way. It's supposed to be yellow. Okay, so here we go. Let's say, okay, I'm going to make positive numbers be yellow. So use your highlighter, make sure you're at yellow, and if this one's yellow and this one's yellow and we're adding, everybody's yellow. Oh, let's look at the second one. Oh, negative. Remember, I said I'm going to make negative be green. So if this one's green and this one's green, and if we're adding, okay, if they're the same color, then my answer needs to be green as well. Now, let's look at what happens with section number 2. And here we are at section number 2. Now, here's what it says. If A and B are, here it is, different signs, then subtract and keep the sign of the greater. So if you look at my examples, on the first one, I've got 8 plus negative 5 equals 3. They're different signs. I subtract and put the sign of the greater. All right, now let's do that with our highlighters and see what happens. So if we're going to go here, and we're going to highlight, and let's look. Well, 8 is positive, so I did it again. Okay, 8 is, highlighter, 8 is positive, so I'm going to make it yellow. And then my 5 is negative, so I'm going to make it. Oh, now here's where you got to pay attention. They're different colors, so once you realize they're different colors, you're going to subtract and give the sign of the greater. And when we look there, my bigger number is 8, so it should be positive. Let's see what happens on the second one. Well, we've got positive 7. I'm going to make that yellow. We're going to add negative. And here's the cool thing, when they are different colors and we're subtracting, then that means we subtract and put the sign of the greater. All right, and then when we look at rule number 3 down here, Rule number 3, it says if A and B are opposites, remember what opposites are? We talked about that last week. If they're opposites, then they cancel each other out, and we would say that they equal 0. Now, if some of you don't need to worry about the little color coding, I am fine with that. But some of you, if you're a visual learner, those different colors really help out as we're going through. Now, let's look here. Let's look at this math equation. Let's say I wanted you to simplify 7 plus negative 9 plus 15 plus negative 12. Well, there's 2 different ways to get the job done. Plan A says that I'm going to add the numbers in order from left to right. Remember that left-right rule? Yeah, still holds true for PEMDAS. So here we go. We've got 7 and negative 9. Ooh, they're different colors. Okay, they're different signs. So this is going to be negative 2 and negative 2 plus 15. Oh, they're going to be different signs. We're going to subtract and put the sign of the greater. And now my final answer is a 1. Now that's method number 1. Okay. Method number 2 would be to put my positives together. So if you look, we've got 7 and 15. And so 7 and 15 gives me 22. All right. Plus, let's go ahead and put our negatives together. And if you look at our negatives, we've got negative 9 and negative 12, which is negative 21. And then now we have different colors because they're different signs, and we subtract and put the sign of the greater. So if you notice, I got the same answer both times, just whichever method you want to use. Now, Mrs. Burton prefers Plan B. I just think it's easier. Going back, when you get all the positives together, add all the negatives together, and then you only have to subtract one time. So that's my preferred method, but you use whatever works better for you. Now, let's practice a little bit and see what happens here. All right, so if I look at the first problem here, we've got negative 34 and positive 120. All right, so I'm going to go here to my highlighter, maybe. Oh, it's already there. I'm going to go to my highlighter, and I'm going to make 34 negative. And remember, 120 is positive. Oh, we have different signs. Okay, if they're different signs, then we're going to subtract and put the sign of the greater. So when I look there then, we're going to get 86 as our answer, and it should be positive 86 because yellow's positive, and that is the bigger number. Okay, now let's look at our second equation here. Okay, oh, now we've got 126. We're looking at this problem right here. So here we are. What do you want to do? Now, personally, I would rather put all these negatives together. If we put all those negatives together, what do we get? Let's add those up. We've got 35 and negative 37 and negative 17, and that gives me negative 89. And we're going to subtract 126 from 89. And we should get a positive 37. Again, I think color coding makes it a little bit easier if you have trouble keeping up with positives and negatives, at least here in the beginning while we're learning to get the job done. Now, let's look. Sometimes we put them over here. Let's get rid of our colors. Let's look at these that are written horizontally. Ooh, parentheses. What does parentheses mean? Do me first. So we've got negative 4 plus 8, different signs. So that's going to give me a positive 4. And then 4 plus negative 3, different signs again. My answer's 1. Good job. Let's look at our second one. I think I would put my negatives together. What do we've got? Negative 3 and negative 9 is negative 12. Negative 12 and negative 5 is negative 17 plus positive 7. Ooh, different signs, subtract, negative 10. Nicely done. Oh, let's look at number 7, the next one. Mrs. Burton threw some letters in there on you. Oh, we've done that before. See, now I'm going to go ahead and put my negatives together. So we've got 17 plus 8b, and then we've got plus negative 25. Oh, now what are we going to do? What are we going to do with these integers? Okay, so we got positive 17 and we've got negative 25. Remember, if they're different signs, we're going to subtract and put the sign of the greater. So that's going to be 8, negative 8. So we've got negative 8 plus 8b. Can I add negative 8 plus 8b? Of course not. Remember, they have to have radicals. And since one 8 has a b and the other one doesn't, we can't put them together. Now, real important thing we're going to look at here at the very bottom. We're going to substitute and evaluate. So if we go to substitute and evaluate, let's look here. Well, it says they want the opposite of x plus the opposite of y plus negative 15. So they want the opposite of x. Well, if you look, x is negative 2 plus the opposite of y. Well, that's going to give me negative 5 plus negative 15. Hey, guess what? All of those guys are negative. So we're going to get negative. Actually, no, we're not. We've got the opposite of negative 2 is positive 2. And then we're going to get negative 5 and negative 15 is negative 20. And so down here, final answer is negative 18. Nicely done. Let's look over here at part B. We've got, I'm going to write over here, I got more room. 1 plus, we want the opposite of y. Well, y is 5, so the opposite of 5 is negative 5 plus x, which is negative 2. I've got 1 plus, remember I like to put my negatives together, negative 7, so final answer here is going to be negative 6. So you've got to really slow down and be careful, really paying attention to your signs. Integer rules are forever. All right, so let's go back to our first slide and let's review. Remember, there's basically 3 parts to our rules for addition. Part number 1, okay, part number 1, if they are the same sign, we add and keep the same sign. All right, if they are different signs, we're going to subtract and keep the sign of the greater. And then rule number 3, if they are opposites, they're going to cancel each other out and give us a 0. So I want you to pay attention to your signs tonight on purpose as you tackle the homework. Great job. Let's go ahead and get started on tonight's assignment.